John, you ready? You ready? Call this work session to order May 15th, 2020. Begin the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Rebecca. How are you?
I don't know if I'll have Friday or not. Okay, so we've got it up there. I made some copies. That way it might be a little easier for you to read if you don't want to have to look up all the time. So my first question, maybe Jim can help me with this. I've not actually seen a signed copy of the governor's order. I can't find one online, the new order. I don't know.
Has it not been put out yet?
I've got a copy of it. It's not actually signed.
Okay.
I don't know if they have signed it or not. I looked online this morning. So I just want to put that out there because if it's not signed, it's not official. So as we're planning, it's just important to remember that, people watching, that if that would change before it's signed, then our ideas might have to change, our plans. I'll hand you that order too. I made copies of it because it's hard to have more than one thing up at a time. But we might want to look at it to reference it. And these are not signed, like I said. I went to their website. Couldn't find a signed copy this morning.
Yeah, it's not on there yet.
So, but it said it was going to be signed yesterday, so I don't know what all is happening with that. But the governor did change the plan a bit yesterday, so on page, she added phase 1.5.
Okay,
Yeah, you got the right one up. That's on page 12, page 12. So, we had talked last week, I think it was last Friday maybe? I can't remember if it was this Tuesday or last Friday. But we had talked that, we were comfortable going to the 30 gathering size if she moved forward with that. So we won't be able to do that because we cannot be less restrictive than her order. So it is staying at 10. Yeah, that's it right there, the orange. And of course, masks are still encouraged in public settings and maintaining the 6-foot social distance. Telework is encouraged if possible. And then employees that are ill should stay home and minimize travel as much as possible so that to avoid non-essential travel. And we still have, states that people have to quarantine when coming back from. So activities that would not be allowed to open. This is a little bit different than phase 2. Some are still not allowed to open. Community centers, large entertainment venues with a capacity of 2,000 or more. Fairs, festivals, swimming pools, and that's what's different is the swimming pools and organized sports facilities, tournaments and practices. So there can be no sports practices and summer camps. So establishments not allowed to open would be the bars and nightclubs, excluding already operating curbside and carry-out service. So that does not include bars that have restaurants in them. If they have a restaurant, they can be open. Casinos would not be open, and then indoor leisure spaces, and then establishments, educational facilities. Activities and venues allowed to operate with restrictions are the child care facilities, libraries, commencement ceremonies, and that was added. Personal service businesses and fitness centers and gyms. So this is a guidance document. This is not the actual legal order. So what I based our order going forward off of is her actual legal order, the 20-31. that hasn't been signed yet, so I'm just assuming it will be. And we'll just skip to page 2. Of course, it talks about the mass gatherings of 10.
You're going to the executive order?
Yeah, the executive order. Yeah, 20 there it is. Okay, so on page 2 is where it really starts talking about what has to happen and what can and can't happen. So mass gatherings, no more than 10. And of course, still following the guidance of masks and 6-foot distancing. Restaurants are allowed to be open but maintain 6-foot distancing, and that includes bar and grills, so a bar that has a restaurant in it. Avoid any instances in which groups of more than 10 are in one location and unable to maintain the 6-foot distance. Businesses need to go to the covid.ks.gov website for guidance. And then the following are able to open, and this is an addition to her previous order. The nail salons, barber shops, hair salons, tanning salons, tattoo parlors, and other personal service businesses where close contact cannot be avoided may open, but only for pre-scheduled appointments and online check-in. And fitness centers and health clubs may open, but in-person group classes may not occur. And locker rooms must be closed except as necessary to use restroom facilities. And this is where I've gotten already a lot of complaints and concerns, because a lot of indoor fitness centers have the ability to space people out by 6 foot. They're very large inside, but there's nothing that I can do to change that. It specifically says in there that they cannot have in-person group classes, and that's in the legal order. So it's specifically in there. You know, it's not in the frequently asked questions or the planning document. It's in the legal order. So bars and nightclubs, it's important to remember businesses that have to be closed are that they are allowed to be repurposed for an essential function, like we've talked about before. So bars and nightclubs, excluding those already operating curbside and carryout, are not allowed to be open. Casinos are not allowed to be open. And then on page 4, theaters, museums, and other indoor leisure spaces, trampoline parks, arcades, etc., are not allowed to be open. So I had questions this morning about the bowling alley, and I did receive verbal permission. It was over the phone from KDHE 2 weeks ago that our bowling alley could be open. Not only does it has a full food service in there. I mean, they make hamburgers, French fries, pizzas. They don't just serve nachos. You know, they have a restaurant, and they also have a bar, which the bar doesn't really make a difference because bars are closed. But if they have food service, they're able to be open. I did get verbal permission from KDHE that they could be open, and I've talked to the bowling alley owner several times since they've been open, and he's not had any issues or problems. He's keeping people spaced 6 feet apart, you know, families or groups that come in. So anyway, I'll just throw that out there. I have had questions about that. And then the education, the main thing that changed for education, of course, they're still following their previous order with 10 students. If they were closed before May 18th for in-person learning, they should remain closed with no more than 10 people in a group. You know, if they're going to have small sessions, child care facilities are open according to state regulations. And then down towards the bottom, this is an addition on C and then I. In-person commencement or graduation ceremonies may occur with no more than 10 individuals in a room, gymnasium, or facility at one time, and only if those 10 individuals maintain a 6-foot distance between individuals. And that doesn't include people living together. So just like restaurants, families can come in together and sit together. This means people who do not reside together have to remain 6 feet apart. So you could have a group of 5 family members, and they can be close together. So then on page 5, it discusses what is closed unless they want to repurpose to become an essential function, and that's a community center, outdoor and indoor large entertainment venues with a capacity of 2,000 or more, fairs, festivals, carnivals, parades, swimming pools other than backyard pools, organized sports facilities, sports tournaments, sports games, and sport practices, meaning no team practice regardless of location. So that is in the legal order. There was some vagueness to that before, prior, so I don't know if there was a lot of concern about that, if people are doing that, and then summer camps. Essential functions, of course, it talks about government, and we still have to honor essential functions. It does still state in here that if there is a business that hasn't been deemed to be essential yet, it is up to the local government to decide if they are essential or non-essential. But anything that we decide, we still have to follow the minimum in the order. And then there was some guidance, you know, if you have a swimming pool in a fitness center, I think we just have one that well, we might have two, I guess, that have a swimming pool in an indoor fitness center. The fitness center can be open, the gym equipment, but the pool has to remain closed. So that's in the guidance document. I don't think it's in the order, but then the last page is just the same guidelines that we've talked about many times about distancing, wearing masks, staying home if you're sick, that kind of thing. So I have a draft order for Crawford County. I just changed the things that we discussed at our last planning session. I'll go ahead and, I thought we could just get through all this and then maybe answer questions. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll have the whole picture. There's those three, and I emailed that to you last night. Okay, so really, you know, we weren't any more restrictive than the governor's. In her planning guidance, it, you know, recommends that nursing homes have no visitors. That's not specifically in the legal order, so I left that in our legal order, that nursing homes would have, the nursing homes would not have visitors. That's really our highest risk group of people. Mass gatherings, at the very top, I left it the same as the governor's order. It has to be that. But like I said, the governor's order isn't signed, so I don't know if that changes, then we'll have to change ours, because I felt comfortable, and I think we all did, with the 30 or less. I just left our recommendations in here. I did take off that self-serve drinks are prohibited, so gas stations can allow people to get their own drinks starting Monday. But the buffet is still not allowed, like salad bars and buffets. The FDA is not recommending that people go through salad bars right now. So I think in 2 weeks, hopefully we could go ahead and allow that. The rest is just our same recommendations that we put out. They're not necessarily orders, just recommendations. At the bottom is long-term care facilities. On page 2, it's just pretty much the same that we had. I left, you know, on number 9, the entity organizing the event is responsible for ensuring that the guidelines are followed, the state order basically. And the rest, I just put, you know, that they need to reference the governor's order. And, oh, I did take out on playgrounds, at parks and playgrounds, we had put equipment closed, so I went ahead and took that off because the governor's order does allow them to be open with the equipment available. And I think, you know, Crawford County is at the point where I think we're okay to let children play on the equipment. It hasn't seemed to be a real issue for us, having tons of kids playing on the equipment at the park.
Right.
So I think we're okay with that. I think that was pretty much, oh, and then the real estate, I changed the real estate like we talked. You know, they can go ahead and just proceed their normal business. It's just important that they encourage people to wear a mask and maintain the 6-foot distancing, especially if they're having a showing, you know, in a house. But I have not had one complaint from real estate at all. They've done fine.
All right.
So pretty much our order is, the only thing I have in here that's not specifically in the governor's order is long-term care. Assisted living facilities will not have visitors right now. And that staff should wear masks at all times in those facilities, just like we had in the previous order. But so we've really loosened our other restrictions.
Can I ask a question on that one? Just
Sure.
long-term- And since we have Mike in here, I'm just thinking mental health wise, we're going on
Sure.
several weeks here where family hasn't been allowed to visit family.
Right,
So I
right.
didn't know what your take is on that.
Well,
I know the safety of the person is the safety of the person.
it is.
but
Sure.
Mental health is
And,
part of that too, so.
so this recommendation is in the governor's order that long-term care facilities do not have visitors right now. And the main reason is because that is where the highest number of deaths are occurring. And that is also where the highest number of outbreaks are occurring. So, you know, if we want to, we could create a system, or we could create an order where if there is a visitor, they have to be screened for all the symptoms, they have to wear a mask. I've had a couple of long-term care facilities call me and request that we leave this in the order, just because they're getting a lot of pressure from the outside for people to come in, and they don't want people to come
Right.
in.
I
because
see
they're-
both sides.
They're
I mean,
really
that's-
scared, you know.
Right, just to be transparent and realize we understand the situation.
Oh, yeah,
It's not-
absolutely. And the recommendation is not, you know, something that I just thought up. It is recommended from the CDC, and it's in the governor's planning for this phase that, actually, it's even still in phase 2. It's recommended that long-term care facilities not have visitors. So we've been very fortunate. We've not had an outbreak in Crawford County in a long-term care facility. But you know, I realize that could change. And now the federal government is also putting, the CDC and the federal government, I guess, are kind of pretty much the same thing, but it's coming from the White House task force that long-term care facilities test all residents and staff. And I know that Ascension Via Christi in Pittsburgh, their long-term care facility and assisted living is going to start doing that. That really just gives you one glimpse of one day in time, but to get a baseline. So not all nursing homes are doing that yet. KDHE isn't recommending it yet. So it's just if the facility wants to do that, because some cases have happened in nursing homes or long-term care facilities where it was an asymptomatic staff person that started the outbreak, you know. So it might give a little bit of an indication and catch something, but then the next day, if someone's traveled and come back, it's going to be the same, you know, you're right back where you started. So KDHE is not recommending that. Now, if there is a positive case in a long-term care facility, then KDHE would have us test all staff and all residents. But there would have to actually be a case in that facility, either a staff or a resident, and then everyone would get tested. But until that happens, they're not recommending to test asymptomatic folks. Now, if there's somebody sick there, it's fine. You know, they're recommending to test,
Right.
but just not that broad, expansive testing. Some are doing it though. So we will be getting a large increase in our tests coming in, because I know just via Christie Village alone, it'll be 200 to 300 people in the county. So, and then we also have places that are doing the IgG. Community Health is doing it, and there's a lot of doctors' offices doing it. And the IgG is also reportable, even though it shows immunity. It's still a state reportable test. So when a person draws the test, a doctor or a practitioner wants the test done, they draw it, they have to report that to the health department, and then we put it in EpiTrax. So we'll get an idea of how many positive IgGs are out there. There's not a lot of that going on yet, but anyway, no, I totally understand that with the nursing homes. I know some have set up FaceTime and things like that.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear what all they're doing. You know, I don't know all the different things that they're doing.
Okay.
What about questions?
Well, I've got.
Are they
some,
up here?
Yeah, I won't be able to display them, but I can read them.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one we got this morning said for hair salons, tattoo shops, etc., will we need to have a separate COVID-19 symptom pre-screening form for clients?
We are not requiring that at the county level. Those salons, the tattoo parlors, they have licensing agencies, so at the state level, so they need to check with their licensing agency, like at the state level where they get their beautician license from. They need to check with them. So we won't be requiring it.
One was here, please advise how the governor's most recent changes will affect businesses that were allowed to reopen as restaurants because they serve food. Will they still be allowed to be open?
Yes, that hasn't changed at all.
This one was about, will the county lift their restriction on self-serve beverage stations?
Yes, as I stated previously, yeah.
Okay. So those are in play. That's all I have right now.
Okay.
Looks good.
Any other questions,
Jim, we need to approve this
comments?
during the meeting? Or do we do that now?
Or, yes, during the meeting.
Yep.
We'll talk about that, and we'll probably talk about the courthouse, what we're gonna do for the next week or so. We can do that in the meeting.
Okay.
Was there anybody here who had comments or anything?
Do you have any questions?
If anybody had questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
All right.
Thank you very much. So I guess we'll just recess until 10,
Yes,
start the regular meeting.
sounds good.
All right, thank you, Rebecca.
Yes, I didn't open it yet. I opened it, but I haven't looked at it yet. Anytime. We all done?
No, we won't be. I mean, we'll leave it on.
That's all right, you can leave it on. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, anytime it says legal, I give it to Jim. You doing all right, buddy?
It just takes a while for Brandon. I like to check with him because he has to do some